Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered the country's military leaders to recruit more forces to increase its troop numbers to 1.5 million. The number of Russian soldiers will rise from 1.32 million to 1.5 million, according to Putin's decree, which will come into effect on December 1st. Putin's decree, published on the official government website, will increase the overall number of Russian military personnel from 2.2 million to nearly 2.4 million, including 1.5 million troops. The presidential decree also orders the government to provide the necessary funding for the increase in the number of armed forces. The previous increase in Russian troop numbers came last December and before that in June, when Putin put the number of troops involved in the special military operation in Donbass in eastern Ukraine at nearly 700,000. Some 300,000 reservists were called in after Ukraine's counter-offensive in the fall of 2022. Military observers and analysts have noted that Moscow has been reluctant to call in more reservists, fearing domestic destabilization like what happened in 2022, when many draft dodgers fled Russia to avoid joining the armed forces. Russian authorities have been filling the ranks with volunteer soldiers, who have been attracted to high salaries. Russia launched its military campaign in Ukraine's Donbass 2.5 years ago with the main objective of liberating the Donbass region. Since then, Western countries have been supporting the former Soviet Republic with diplomatic and financial backing, providing Kiev with arms and munitions despite repeated warnings by the Kremlin that such a policy would only prolong the war. The Ukrainian forces on August 6 invaded Russia in an attack on the Kursk region. The US-led Western countries backing Kiev have even supplied long-range missiles, tanks, and warplanes to Ukraine in spite of their initial reluctance to do so, turning the regional conflict into a full-fledged war with global ramifications. At the moment, Russia is building a larger military and structuring it to fight large land wars. But Moscow could pivot. In the last 2 years, Russian military scholarship has begun to hint at some of these alternatives. Some argue that Russia should rely less on mass and ground forces, prioritize investments in advanced military technologies rather than relying on legacy systems, or move toward a less centralized organizational structure and adopt a mission command approach. The advocates of these ideas are still in the minority, however. And a variety of economic, political, and cultural factors would make it difficult for Russia to implement such changes. On the other hand, Russia has been successful in rebuilding its military after suffering tremendous losses during its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a US official has claimed. Speaking during an event hosted by the Center for a New American Security, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell stated that they have been monitoring Moscow over the last few months to assess if it has regained its strength. He said invading forces have almost completely reconstituted, thanks to the significant surge in its defense spending since the war broke out in February 2022. The support of its closest allies in China, North Korea, and Iran has also helped Russia endure economic and military setbacks in the last 2 years, Campbell stated. We've really seen the People's Republic of China start to help to rebuild Russia's defense industrial base, essentially backfilling the trade from European partners, he remarked. Last year, speculation surfaced about Beijing and Pyongyang considering arming its European ally in response to the shipment of Western weapons to Ukraine. U.S. intelligence officials previously claimed the invading forces might need a decade to fully recover, considering the enormous losses it had sustained. But Campbell's latest assessment fuels speculation that Russia is recuperating faster than expected. If anyone needed confirmation on the Kremlin's intention to prepare for a long war, the working sessions around the Russian Federation's 2024 budget provided it. Moscow is amping up its financial means. Putin's government did not deny drafted figures unveiled on Friday, September 22, by Bloomberg. Next year, the Russian defense budget will reach €107 billion, or 6% of gross domestic product. The nearly 70% increase is staggering. In 2023, defense spending on a war budget was €63 billion, or 3.9% of Russia's GDP. In 2021, military spending was equivalent to 2.7% of GDP. Meanwhile, the United States defense budget for 2024 is expected to stand at $842 billion, up 3.2% year-on-year. For the first time in its history, Russia is preparing to spend more on defense than on social policy, €74 billion, an extensive budget line that includes pensions, journalist Farida Rustamova noted. This result is all the more incongruous in an election year, a presidential election scheduled for March 2024 traditionally associated with significant social spending. Another new development is the amount allocated to classified spending for unspecified purposes. It has almost doubled to €110 billion, 30% of the budget. Part of this expenditure is earmarked for the special military operation in Ukraine, but above all, it enables the government to operate in secrecy. The exceptionally high bonuses paid to the families of Russian soldiers killed, €49,585, for example, come from this budget line item.